The glittering illusion of modern celebrity culture has always been built on a foundation of carefully curated perfection, an elaborate theatrical production where every line is rehearsed, every public appearance is precisely choreographed, and every single flaw is meticulously hidden away behind the closed doors of high-powered public relations firms. For decades, the public accepted this polished reality, looking up at the silver screen and the glossy magazine covers with a sense of distant wonder, believing that the individuals who occupied the highest echelons of fame were somehow fundamentally different from the rest of ordinary humanity. We watched them glide down red carpets, clad in garments that cost more than the average annual salary, listening to their structured acceptance speeches and reading their highly sanitized interviews, completely oblivious to the chaotic human impulses driving them behind the scenes. This distance created a powerful shield, a protective barrier that allowed stars to maintain an aura of absolute invincibility, ensuring that even the most catastrophic personal missteps could be quietly swept under the rug by teams of fiercely loyal fixers, attorneys, and image consultants whose sole job was to preserve the lucrative myth of stardom. However, the dawn of the digital age completely shattered this protective glass house, fundamentally altering the fabric of human communication and stripping away the traditional armor that once kept the rich and famous safe from the immediate consequences of their own poor judgment. The rise of social media platforms transformed the relationship between the public and the elite from a distant, one-way broadcast into a chaotic, real-time conversation where the boundary between the stage and the audience ceased to exist entirely. Suddenly, celebrities were granted direct, unmediated access to millions of followers, a direct pipeline that bypassed the traditional gatekeepers of public relations and allowed them to express their thoughts, opinions, and emotions with the simple tap of a smartphone screen. While this unprecedented connectivity was initially hailed as a revolutionary tool for authentic human bonding, it quickly manifested as a treacherous double-edged sword, a digital tightrope where a single moment of unvarnished arrogance, misplaced confidence, or sheer delusion could instantly ignite a global firestorm. The modern internet never forgets, and it rarely forgives, functioning as a hyper-vigilant archive that documents every contradictory statement, every tone-deaf gesture, and every spectacularly misguided attempt at self-preservation, turning the very tools meant to enhance celebrity influence into the instruments of their own public undoing. This profound cultural shift has given rise to a fascinating psychological phenomenon that captivates millions across the globe: an insatiable collective curiosity regarding the dramatic mechanics of the public downfall. There is a uniquely compelling tension in watching an individual who possesses immense wealth, global adulation, and boundless societal privilege make a conscious choice that completely unravels their entire empire in a matter of hours. It challenges our understanding of human nature, forcing us to wonder how people surrounded by legions of highly paid advisors, legal experts, and industry veterans can still succumb to a level of hubris so profound that they blind themselves to the obvious reality of their actions. It is this exact dynamic that recently took center stage on the digital airwaves when an intriguing inquiry emerged from the vast wilderness of the internet, specifically within the sprawling communities of Reddit. A user known by the moniker Bicycle Sweetie posed a deceptively simple question to the global collective, asking the community to identify the precise moments when a prominent celebrity attempted a strategic move that completely, spectacularly, and irrevocably backfired on them. The resulting avalanche of responses served as a stark reminder that when the rich and powerful try to manipulate public perception without a shred of genuine self-awareness, the universe has a brutal way of balancing the scales, often transforming a calculated public relations maneuver into a permanent monument to their own short-sightedness. As we begin to peel back the layers of these extraordinary cultural train wrecks, we invite you to join us on this deep exploration into the fragile nature of modern fame, a journey that reveals just how quickly the golden pedestal of public adoration can crumble into dust. If you find yourself fascinated by the intricate web of human psychology, the unvarnished realities of the entertainment industry, and the gripping stories of figures who pushed their luck just a step too far, please take a brief moment to support the channel by subscribing, ensuring that you will never miss a single chapter of this unfolding narrative as we dissect the most astonishing miscalculations in modern pop culture history. The stories we are about to examine are not merely tales of random bad luck or unfortunate timing. They are deeply fascinating studies in the destructive power of the human ego, demonstrating what happens when individuals become so thoroughly consumed by their own mythology that they genuinely believe they can rewrite the rules of reality, override the common sense of the masses, and emerge completely untouched by the unfolding chaos around them. Consider the intricate atmosphere of an industry where reputation is the ultimate currency. A delicate ecosystem where a single accusation can freeze millions of dollars in production budgets and turn a beloved household name into an overnight pariah. In this high-stakes environment, the instinct for self-preservation frequently overpowers basic human logic, driving individuals to concoct elaborate counter-narratives that are so wildly disconnected from reality they defy rational comprehension. We often see the initial stages of these controversies play out in a state of quiet panic behind closed doors, a frantic gathering of legal minds and public relations managers desperately trying to build a fortress around a fading star. Yet, despite all the resources at their disposal, the fatal flaw almost always traces back to the celebrities themselves, individuals who possess an absolute certainty that their personal charisma, their historical achievements, or their sheer willpower can somehow blind the public to the objective truth. They step before the cameras, publish deeply personal manifestos, or launch their highly publicized legal battles with an air of supreme confidence, entirely unaware that they are actively pulling the pin on a metaphorical grenade that will decimate their careers, cost them millions in unnecessary legal fees, and permanently cement their names in the dictionary as shorthand for catastrophic strategic failure. As we prepare to transition into the core chapters of this report, where we will lay bare the specific names, the precise timelines, and the astonishing details of 24 distinct celebrities who fundamentally ruin their own standing, it is essential to appreciate the eerie quiet that always precedes these cultural explosions. It is the moment right before a major television star decides to report a highly suspicious incident to the Metropolitan Police. The quiet afternoon when an iconic musical diva signs her name to a massive $50 million lawsuit over a simple environmental photograph. Or the exact hour a viral internet sensation decides to dust off a musical instrument to sing away serious allegations of misconduct. In each of these instances, the individuals involved truly believed they were playing a brilliant chess move, entirely blind to the reality that they were walking directly into a trap of their own design. The stage is set, the tension is palpable, and the curtain is about to rise on the specific shocking details of these monumental backfires, leaving us to marvel at the sheer scale of the disasters that await when the illusion of absolute invincibility collides head-on with the unyielding wall of public scrutiny. The delicate barrier separating a minor public relations misstep from a career-defining catastrophe is often breached in a single moment of absolute overconfidence. And nowhere is this reality more evident than in the astonishing sequence of events that unfolded in early 2019 around television actor Jussie Smollett. At the time, Smollett was enjoying the peak of his professional career, starring as a central character on the massively successful television drama Empire, a role that brought him widespread critical acclaim and immense industry influence. However, the entire trajectory of his life shifted overnight when he filed a detailed report with the Chicago Police Department, claiming he had been the victim of a brutal, racially charged, and deeply malicious assault on a freezing winter night. The initial reaction from the entertainment industry and the general public was a massive wave of profound empathy and collective outrage, with prominent figures rallying to his side to demand immediate justice. Yet, as dedicated investigators began digging into the logistics of the timeline, reviewing hundreds of hours of surveillance footage, tracking rideshare data, and interviewing potential witnesses, the narrative began to fray at the absolute seams. The turning point arrived with the arrest of two brothers who had worked as extras on the very same television show, individuals who quickly revealed to law enforcement that the entire violent episode had been meticulously planned, orchestrated, and funded by Smollett himself to artificially boost his public profile and leverage higher contract negotiations. The immediate fallout from this revelation was swift and devastatingly comprehensive, transforming Smollett from a deeply sympathetic victim into an absolute cultural outcast within a matter of days. The production company behind Empire immediately severed all ties, removing his character from the final episodes of the season and effectively ending his lucrative tenure on the show. The legal system responded with equal severity, charging him with multiple felony counts of disorderly conduct for filing a false police report and orchestrating a massive waste of municipal law enforcement resources. A highly publicized trial in late 2021 ultimately concluded with a jury finding him guilty of 5 out of 6 counts, resulting in a sentence that included a mandatory 150 days in a county jail facility. Though his legal team managed to secure his release on bond after serving just 6 days while they pursued a lengthy appeals process, the public damage was entirely irreversible. In a dramatic twist years later, the Illinois Supreme Court ultimately overturned his conviction on strict procedural grounds, ruling that an initial agreement with prosecutors to drop the charges in exchange for community service and a forfeited bond should have been legally honored. Despite the highest court clearing his legal record, and despite Smollett continuing to forcefully maintain his complete innocence through extensive personal documentary projects, the entire ordeal left his once promising career in absolute ruins. Serving as a chilling testament to how a desperate attempt to manipulate public sympathy can permanently shatter a person's life. A remarkably similar dynamic of self-inflicted devastation occurred decades earlier when legendary entertainment icon Barbra Streisand accidentally birthed a modern sociological phenomenon that would permanently bear her name. In 2003, Streisand became deeply incensed when she discovered that an aerial photograph of her sprawling, multi-million-dollar beachfront estate in Malibu had been included in a massive online archive of over 12,000 images documenting coastal erosion along the California shoreline. The photographic project, meticulously compiled by environmental researcher Kenneth Edelman, was entirely scientific in nature, designed solely to provide scientists and policymakers with visual data regarding West Coast environmental degradation, without a single caption or text reference indicating who owned the specific properties pictured. Prior to Streisand launching her massive legal response, the specific photograph containing her home had been downloaded from the public website a grand total of 6 times, with 2 of those specific downloads being executed by her very own legal representatives. Blinded by an intense desire for absolute privacy, Streisand filed a massive $50 million lawsuit against Edelman, claiming the public availability of the image violated her privacy and actively threatened her personal security. The moment the high-profile lawsuit was officially filed, it triggered an astronomical wave of public curiosity, causing the news to spread across the early internet like a massive wildfire within a month of the legal filing. Nearly 500,000 people rushed to the website to view the exact photograph she was desperately trying to hide, ensuring that her private residence became one of the most widely recognized pieces of real estate on the planet. The legal battle itself concluded in total humiliation for the singer as the court granted Edelman's anti-slappy motion, dismissing the case entirely on the grounds that his environmental documentation was fully protected free speech, while ordering Streisand to pay over $150,000 to cover his extensive legal fees. This monumental backfire was so incredibly absolute that technology journalist Mike Masnick officially coined the term the Streisand effect to describe the exact phenomenon where a heavy-handed attempt to suppress, censor, or hide a piece of information inadvertently guarantees its permanent global exposure, earning the singer an eternal spot in the modern dictionary for the exact opposite of what she set out to achieve. This inability to read the room reached a bizarre peak during the modern digital era when internet personality Colleen Ballinger completely dismantled a decade of massive digital success with a single video upload. Ballinger had built a massive global empire through her fictional alter ego Miranda Sings, a deliberately untalented, hyper-confident character with smeared red lipstick who captivated millions of young viewers, leading to sold-out international tours, a successful book deal, and a multi-season scripted series on Netflix. This incredibly lucrative empire came crashing down when serious allegations surfaced from former fans who accused Ballinger of fostering highly inappropriate relationships with underage followers, engaging in exploitative group chats, and completely crossing professional boundaries. As major corporate sponsors began pulling their advertising dollars and public backlash reached an intense fever pitch, the internet waited for a mature, legally sound response to the unfolding crisis. Instead, Ballinger chose to bypass traditional public relations methods entirely, uploading a lengthy video where she sat with a wooden ukulele singing a self-pitying, mocking song to address the severe allegations of grooming. The opening lines of the performance, where she sang that her legal team had strongly advised her not to speak, but had never explicitly told her she could not sing, immediately alienated both her critics and her remaining supporters. The bizarre choice to use a light-hearted musical instrument to address issues of child safety was met with universal derision, becoming an instant meme and completely destroying whatever professional credibility she had left. Months later, she was forced to release a traditional, somber video addressing the massive controversy, openly admitting that the ukulele video was incredibly embarrassing, deeply immature, and driven entirely by her own defensive ego, while offering a profound apology for her past inappropriate fan interactions. But the structural damage to her career was already complete, as the internet permanently archived her musical performance as one of the most tone-deaf and catastrophic responses to a serious allegation in the entire history of modern social media. This toxic mixture of public posturing and immediate exposure continued to claim high-profile targets, as Hollywood actress Lea Michele discovered when she attempted to participate in a global social justice movement. In the summer of 2020, amid widespread international conversations regarding systemic inequality, the former Glee star took to social media to publish a statement of absolute support for the Black Lives Matter movement. The tweet was immediately intercepted by her former Black co-star Samantha Ware, who responded with a blistering public recollection of the immense trauma and daily microaggressions she claimed Michele had subjected her to during her very first television role on the set of the hit musical show. Ware alleged that Michele had treated her with such profound hostility and casual cruelty that it made her actively question whether she even wanted to pursue a career in Hollywood, famously claiming that Michele had threatened to perform a deeply degrading act on her personal wig in front of the cast. The viral response to Ware's tweet broke open a massive dam of pent-up resentment, prompting numerous former co-stars, background extras, and production crew members to step forward with their own detailed stories of Michele's deeply unpleasant, entitled, and disrespectful behavior on various sets. While some colleagues attempted to offer a mild defense by suggesting her hostility was not racially motivated, but rather a reflection of a volatile personality that treated everyone poorly regardless of their background, the public relations damage was absolute. Major corporate partnerships, including a lucrative endorsement deal with a prominent meal kit delivery service, were canceled within hours of the public call-out. Michele was ultimately forced to issue a lengthy statement expressing deep regret, acknowledging that while she did not recall the specific incidents mentioned, the overwhelming feedback made it clear that her past behavior had caused profound pain to those around her, illustrating how a quick social media post meant to project moral superiority can instantly illuminate a person's private history of workplace mistreatment. The delicate thread connecting immense artistic success to complete public alienation is often spun from pure hubris, a truth that became glaringly obvious when the legendary Irish rock band U2 partnered with technology giant Apple for a promotional campaign that would live on in internet infamy. In September of 2014, during a massive, highly anticipated global product launch event, the band announced that their brand new studio album, Songs of Innocence, would be gifted absolutely free to every single iTunes user across the entire planet. However, instead of allowing users to choose whether they wanted to download the music, the companies utilized automated cloud infrastructure to forcibly push the entire album directly into the private music libraries of over 500 million individual accounts. The reaction from the global public was immediate, intense, and overwhelmingly negative as millions of users opened their personal devices only to discover an uninvited album occupying their limited storage space without their explicit consent. The well-intentioned gesture of digital generosity was instantly recontextualized as a deeply invasive, arrogant violation of personal digital boundaries, sparking a massive wave of internet memes and public outrage. The backlash became so incredibly severe that Apple was forced to create a dedicated, single-click removal tool specifically to help users purge the band's music from their devices, while lead singer Bono was later compelled to issue a formal video apology. Bono openly admitted that the band had been carried away by a dangerous drop of megalomania and vaunting ambition, comparing the mistake to an overzealous milkman who did not just leave an unwanted bottle of milk on the doorstep, but walked directly into the house and poured it straight onto the residents' breakfast cereal, permanently staining the album's artistic legacy with the sting of corporate overreach. This profound inability to anticipate public reaction was similarly mirrored in the sports world when legendary quarterback Tom Brady made the fateful decision to reverse his official retirement from professional football in early 2022. Just 40 days after announcing he was walking away from the game to finally focus on his family, Brady shocked the athletic community by declaring he would return for another grueling season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Decision carried immediate, devastating personal consequences as widespread reports surfaced that his longtime wife, international supermodel Gisele Bündchen, was deeply unhappy with his choice to prioritize the violent sport over their shared domestic life, having carried the vast majority of childcare responsibilities for years. The intense public scrutiny culminated in a highly publicized divorce that officially brought a definitive end to their high-profile marriage. To make matters worse, the immense personal sacrifice did not even translate into athletic glory, as Brady endured the absolute worst competitive season of his historic 23-year career. The Buccaneers finished the grueling season with a losing record of 8 wins and 9 losses, barely scraping into the postseason only to be completely dismantled and eliminated in the very first wildcard round. The entire comeback attempt backfired on every conceivable level, demonstrating that even the most accomplished icons cannot outrun the harsh realities of time, aging team dynamics, and the deep personal costs of obsessive professional ambition. A far more severe and culturally consequential instance of self-inflicted exposure occurred when legendary television comedian Bill Cosby attempted to engage with the modern internet through a poorly conceived social media campaign. In late 2014, Cosby's official promotional team posted an interactive meme generator on his website, explicitly inviting the general public to add humorous text to classic images from his iconic television program and share them online using a dedicated hashtag. At the time, serious whispers and legal settlements regarding his past behavior had been quietly brewing in the background of the industry for decades, but they had not yet fully penetrated the collective consciousness of the mainstream public. The interactive meme campaign acted as an immediate catalyst, providing an angry public with the perfect digital canvas to reference the long-standing assault allegations, flooding the internet with thousands of incriminating screenshots. While the generator was quickly pulled down in a state of sheer panic, the digital dam had broken completely, and the viral firestorm reignited intense media investigation, ultimately leading to a massive wave of dozens of new victims stepping forward to share their stories, which completely dismantled his legacy and resulted in his historic criminal conviction. This collective blindness to the lived realities of ordinary citizens reached an absolute peak during the global health crisis of 2020, when Hollywood actress Gal Gadot gathered a large group of her immensely wealthy celebrity friends to film a collaborative video singing John Lennon's classic anthem Imagine. Released just days into the terrifying initial lockdowns when ordinary people were losing their jobs, hoarding basic groceries, and dying in overwhelmed hospitals. The video featured pampered stars singing about imagining no possessions from the safety of their sprawling multi-million-dollar mansions. The tone-deaf performance was met with immediate global ridicule, becoming a permanent symbol of celebrity disconnect and shallow privilege. During that exact same period of universal anxiety, pop singer Sam Smith faced an identical wave of intense public fury after posting a series of emotional photographs on Instagram documenting the progressive stages of a quarantine meltdown while isolating inside a luxurious estate. The public fiercely slammed the performer for projecting self-pity from a position of absolute financial security, while millions of essential workers were actively risking their lives on the front lines, forcing Smith to later clarify that the post was a poorly timed attempt to express authentic human vulnerability that had been disastrously misread by a stressed audience. The daytime television landscape witnessed its own historic collapse when iconic host Ellen DeGeneres casually filmed a comedy segment from her massive estate, joking to her audience that being trapped in quarantine was exactly like being in prison. The deeply offensive comparison backfired spectacularly, instantly alienating millions of viewers who were trapped in tiny apartments with dwindling financial resources. The controversy acted as an immediate catalyst for the public to revisit a viral interview where Hollywood actress Dakota Johnson had calmly but firmly called out DeGeneres on her own stage for fabricating a story about not being invited to a birthday party. This public humiliation broke open the floodgates for an extensive, devastating investigation into the daytime show's toxic workplace environment, filled with detailed allegations of employee intimidation, racial microaggressions, and executive misconduct that completely shattered the host's carefully crafted persona of kindness and ultimately led to the absolute cancellation of her entire television empire. in a similar display of immense disconnect. Pop star Katy Perry attracted widespread public condemnation when she embarked on an expensive, highly publicized 11-minute flight into the upper atmosphere aboard an Amazon-backed space capsule, publicly claiming the trip was a monument to female empowerment and environmental appreciation. Critics were incredibly quick to point out the staggering financial waste and severe environmental footprint of the private space tourism flight, labeling the entire endeavor a superficial gesture that did absolutely nothing to support ordinary women on Earth. The space controversy coincided with a massive artistic failure, as Perry attempted to launch a major musical comeback with a highly anticipated track intended to be a feminist anthem. However, the song was universally panned by fans and critics alike as a shallow, dated product of the male gaze, a backlash that intensified dramatically when it was revealed the track had been co-written and produced by Dr. Luke, a figure deeply stained by years of intense public legal battles regarding allegations of abuse. The decision to employ such a controversial producer for a song explicitly marketed as a celebration of female strength was viewed as an absolute betrayal of the track's stated message, completely derailing her commercial comeback and cementing the entire era as a monumental disaster. The history of promotional miscalculations is filled with these astonishing moments. From pop singer Rita Ora tweeting in 2014 that she would leak her own new single only if she received 100,000 retweets, only to frantically claim her account had been hacked when the post miserably stalled at just 2,000 shares, to reality star Kendall Jenner starring in an infamous corporate beverage commercial. The commercial depicted Jenner leaving a high-fashion photo shoot to join a generic street protest, ultimately solving deep systemic unrest by handing a cold can of soda to a heavily armed police officer. The ad was universally condemned for trivializing grassroots civil rights movements, forcing the brand to issue a humiliating public apology and pull the campaign entirely, while Jenner later wept on reality television, claiming she felt her entire life was completely over. Even beloved figures like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Oprah Winfrey faced immense public wrath when they launched a charitable fund following the devastating Maui wildfires, contributing $10 million of their own money, but immediately turning to the struggling public to beg for individual donations. The public was deeply insulted that two individuals possessing immense billionaire wealth would ask everyday citizens living paycheck to paycheck to provide the financial relief, forcing Johnson to issue a somber video acknowledging the valuable lesson learned about wealth disparity, while Oprah publicly lamented feeling completely vilified by the intense internet backlash. From late-night host James Corden, seeing his promotional Reddit thread completely hijacked by angry users detailing his alleged history of treating restaurant staff with absolute cruelty, to actor Woody Harrelson ruining his own promotional event by stubbornly refusing to answer any questions that did not directly relate to his movie Rampart. The landscape of modern entertainment is littered with the ruins of these absolute strategic failures. When Kevin Spacey attempted to deflect from severe allegations of predatory behavior by officially coming out as a gay man in a written statement, the public saw through the manipulation instantly. A downfall he only exacerbated by later releasing a deeply bizarre, unsettling video reprising his fictional political character to mock the unfolding legal process. Even the upper echelons of modern rap music witnessed a definitive shift when superstar Drake engaged in a high-stakes lyrical feud with Kendrick Lamar, launching aggressive musical attacks only to be completely obliterated by Lamar's historic, record-breaking countertracks that branded Drake with devastating personal allegations, turning the feud into a global anthem that swept the Grammy Awards and left the superstar facing absolute public humiliation. These extraordinary stories serve as an enduring testament to the fragile reality of modern fame, proving that no matter how much wealth, power, or adulation a celebrity manages to accumulate, a single moment of unbridled hubris can instantly transform their carefully constructed empire into an absolute public warning.